Welcome to episode 3 of 4 Boys on a Boat.
We're 4 boys on a boat!
Today we're going to take a look at what it's like for a family of 4 to live fully off-grid on the British waterways. And I can think of no better place to start than ask the children themselves, just how they really feel about boat life.
My name is Thomas.
My name's James, and I'm 8 years old. And I live on a 50-foot narrowboat.
I live on a 50-foot narrowboat.
And I live with my dad and my 2 brothers in West Ingy.
The name of my boat is Inchy. The best part of living on a narrowboat for me is all the nature around the boat.
The best part is we get to cruise the boat.
All my friends think that it's very cool that we have a channel and that I live on a narrowboat. The hardest part about living on a narrowboat, sharing a room with my brother. It's very annoying when we run out of electricity because nothing works, we can't watch movies together and we just have to sit and do nothing.
The worst part is emptying the toilets because it's really stinky. I moved on a boat because my mum died and I went to live with my dad. I was a bit nervous moving on the boat. Now I feel fine. I miss my mummy because she was the best mummy in the world. But now we get to do a lot of adventures.
Being off-grid can mean different things to different people, but for me the most important thing is about being self-sufficient and relying less and less on outside factors to get us through day-to-day life. But being off-grid doesn't mean we have to go without. It's simply taking some careful planning. And with the right setup, the boys and I are able to live a pretty normal life.
Hey guys, I thought it'd be great to talk about some of the more practical elements of boat life. And while I don't necessarily see this as a narrowboat channel as such, I think we're more of a family account. The fact that we live in this 6-foot wide home and the fact that we live completely off grid is obviously a big factor to what we do. And as many of you all know by now, I put a lot of emphasis on the children playing outdoors. I would really love to see them every single day playing outside, riding bikes, climbing trees, playing football, jumping in puddles. However, they are modern day kids and that does come with devices. And devices take power. We have pretty much all of the modern day devices you could think of. We've got a games console, we've got iPads, we've got phones, we've even got a gaming PC. And all of these things can be quite power hungry. So having a high quality, high powered setup was really very important because these things do not come just in the flick of a switch. The vast majority of our power comes from our solar panels. We've got around 600 watts of solar, charging around 400 amps of lithium batteries via a Renogy MPPT charge controller. I would say for about 70% of the year, this is perfectly adequate and we can live completely off-grid just from solar and renewable energy alone. However, this is England and let's face it, it's not always sunny. And when the sun goes, so does our power. So we need to have some alternatives and some backup in place to keep us charged. Our first backup is our engine. When we run the engine, we have a dual alternator setup with 2 70 amp alternators going through a smart charger into the lithium batteries. Realistically, this gives us about 100 amps of charge on tick over. And the great thing is when we're running our engine, we're also using that energy to heat our water as well. So regardless of the time of year, I tend to run the engine for about an hour a day so that we can wash and shower and clean and have the hot water at the ready. However, if we really have used a lot of power, we also then fall back on our generator. We have a 3,500 watt generator going through a 50 amp charger from Fogstart. And we can, in fact, run this at the same time as running our engine when we need a real boost of power if the batteries have gone flat overnight. It's not unusual in winter to wake up if the boys have been power heavy in the evening to absolutely no power. But you'll be amazed with all those options how quickly it is to turn on the engine and get everything running and get everything charged again. The boat's equipped with both 12-volt power, which runs things like the lights and the fridge, charging ports for USB and those sorts of things, and an inverter that provides us with 240-volt power as well. That inverter is a 3,000-watt Renogy inverter. And with such a high power load, that means we can be running multiple things at once or run the higher powered items. We do even have an air fryer, which is about 1,700 watts that we can run pretty easily, even while we've got things like the TV going and the boys don't have to be interrupted if I'm using it to cook dinner. Being off grid and being as self-sustainable as possible is really important to me. I'm trying to rely as little as possible on the outside world. And the more energy I can produce myself here, the better. And that's the best thing about the solar is I don't have to rely on anyone else to provide me with fuel or energy to keep the boat ticking. The boat itself is obviously powered by diesel, and that's supplied to us via a fuel boat that comes through every other week and can top up the diesel and provide us with fuel like coal and gas for the stove as well. A bottle of gas that costs around £40 runs the oven here. That will last me around 3 months. And throughout the winter, I probably spend around £500 on coal as well, alongside foraged wood. There's always so much wood that we can collect, and I get the absolute pleasure of getting out and chopping wood, which is one of my favourite things to do. Great way to relieve some stress is to get that axe out and chop wood. And obviously I can get the boys involved in that too, and they really enjoy helping me out there. As for heat, the home is heated by our stove. We have a Morso Squirrel multi-fuel stove, and that can burn either smokeless fuel or wood, or generally a mixture of the two. I really find that wood burns much hotter, but burns quite quick. Coal burns a little bit colder, but lasts a long time. So I will primarily use the coal to keep the fire going through the winter, and then put the wood on when I want a nice burst of heat. That also heats a back boiler, which is connected to radiators, which just circulates warm water through those radiators, through the boat, meaning that the boys' bedroom and this side of the living room is just as warm and toasty as well. Then's our water supply, and this is something I'd like to go into a little bit more detail about because we do things a little bit different to most boaters out there. And that's because we've made our own water filtration system, meaning we can get water from the canal, filter it into the tank, at which point we treat it, and then filter it again throughout the boat so it's fully usable for washing, cleaning, and even drinking. While these are systems that you can buy out on the commercial market, I found that they were really very expensive. Some of them were up to £7,000 for the decent systems. So I started looking into how to build my own. And I found that most of these filtration systems were built from components that were readily available on the commercial market. And I set out to kind of reverse engineer the ones that were already out there and build my own at a fraction of the cost. My own system cost me around £300 to build. And as far as I can tell, works in exactly the same way. I'm absolutely open to be proven wrong. If any of the companies out there that build these systems that are much more expensive want to talk to me and tell me kind of what the difference is, I'm more than happy to hear that. However, my system goes through a 6-stage filtration system, which includes gradually smaller filters, carbon block, and then a UV filter as well at the end, before filling the tank, at which point I chlorinate it. Then it goes back through another filtration system as well that makes it drinkable. And now, if we have enough interest in this, I would be more than happy to do a bit of a how-to video later, separate from my general vlogs, and let you guys know how this was built. I would say the biggest difference between mine and the commercially available units, and mine probably doesn't look as pretty. I've used flexible hose rather than copper pipe. It's kind of built into to my well deck in a way that probably isn't the tidiest looking thing, but it's more than practical and it works perfectly well. I've tested the water that comes from that, both untreated and treated, and the results have been absolutely amazing. And we've been drinking that now for the past 6 months as well. So yes, we drink water directly from the canal.
Off-grid living means that everything we do is intentional. Heating isn't just turned on by a thermostat. Electricity doesn't just appear when we flick a switch. And any system we put in place will have some limitations. But there's something so rewarding at knowing that the fire that's heating your home is thanks to the wood that you've chopped with your own hands. Living this way makes you far more grateful, not only for the hard work that it takes, but also for the resources that the planet provides. When everything's delivered to your home without any effort, it's so easy to take the very basics for granted. But absolutely everything that we need to live, the earth really can provide. And while I'm not claiming to have reached some absolute level of self-sufficiency, I really hope that my children will grow up being more aware of the resources they use and where they came from. And while they still forget to turn off lights from time to time or use too much water in the shower, they really have adapted to off-grid living so naturally in such a short period of time. while still living a life of abundance. I just wanted to thank all the amazing people that have supported us recently over on Buy Me a Coffee. If you do, please leave us a message and tell us that you're a viewer on YouTube, and then I can give you a shout out on the next episode. All your support goes a long way and it's really, really appreciated. Out here on the beautiful well deck, one of my favourite places to come and sit and look out across the canal. There's also one very important off-grid factor, and that is our off-grid water filter system. Now, as I said previously in this video, this is a system that you could buy commercially and they can be quite expensive. The cheapest I've seen on the market is around £1,800, up to around £7,000 for some of the higher end units. However, from what I can tell, mine does exactly the same and it cost me about £300. The key difference is mine's a bit of a mess. It doesn't look pretty. It's not nicely laid out. I don't use nice copper pipe. I tend to use kind of standard hose. However, it still goes through the same filtration method and still uses a lot of the same main components as the commercially available units. Let me show you how it works. So my system is built up of 6 of these sediment filters that get gradually smaller from 10 micron all the way down to 0.05 micron, and a carbon filter as well. I change these filters about once every 2 months, depending on how much I've used them and how much water I've been filtering. And it's a dead easy process to change them. I literally just pop the tubes off of each end, unscrew the filters, pop the new filters in the bottom. You then tighten them up using the dedicated spanner. And then fit the whole system back together. Alongside the sediment filters, my system also has this UV water sterilizer, and this is there to kill off any viruses or bacteria, or to stop them developing and growing. Then the next thing I do, once the filters are all changed, is put this end into the canal and switch it on. So once the water's running, I give it approximately 2 minutes just to flush the system through, get rid of any nasties that were sitting inside the filter housing before popping it into my water tank and filling us up. Once the water's primed and the filters are cleared, it's time to pop this into the water tank at the bow of the boat. With the current water pressure, it should take about 30 minutes to an hour to fully fill the tank. Then I'll add some water purification to the tank as well to finish it off. Despite our lifestyle being so much about a connection to nature, modern day living, even off-grid, still relies heavily on technology. And with our 2 400-watt solar panels feeding power into our lithium batteries, while being supported by what's essentially a 30-year-old tractor engine, and even monitored by a modern day phone app, sometimes it feels like this life is an absolute contradiction between real simple living and modern day convenience. And while this life might be simple, it certainly isn't soft. And you have to be willing to put the work in to achieve what most people take for granted. And while some of those jobs might not always be pleasant, and nobody really enjoys emptying their own toilet, every activity feels like an achievement, and you really earn the privilege of living on the water. Making the decision to move onto a narrowboat as an adult is one thing, but the children were kind of thrown into this life. And before they moved in with me, they lived in a 6-bedroom house, pretty luxurious lifestyle, all the mod cons. And the thing of a house is everything happens with the flick of a switch. And it's easy, isn't it? You don't really have to be considerate of how much power you use, how much water you use.
where that water and electricity comes from. On a boat, you have to really think about each and every one of those things, and each and every one of those things takes a degree of effort, a degree of time, and and it's really interesting to consider how well the boys have adapted to living off grid. I've said before that I think children are some of the most incredibly resilient people around, and they live in the now and accept moments much better than a lot of adults do. And my boys have been an absolute example of that. And they continue to make me really, very proud, really, just how much they accept and how normal this has come. We've lived on the boat now as a family, as a unit, for just over a year. September 2024, their mum died. And I've said this before, the resilience that those children show is just absolutely incredible and something that we can learn so much from. I want everyone to meet someone that we've got hanging out with us this week. This is Bowie. Bowie's not our dog. We're just dog sitting for a week at the moment. However, my goodness, has he made us realize how much we would love a dog. And while I'm not sure a big husky is probably the right dog for us on the boat, I'm really interested to hear what you guys think and what dog you think we should get. And also any information regarding where to get a dog from, we'd love to rescue. We'd love to find maybe a rescue centre that would want to create some content with us and that we could kind of help share what they do and how amazing they are. So drop us a comment. So I've made my way over to the local Canal and River Trust boater service point. And these are essential services that are dotted up and down the canal network and paid for via our licence fees. Now, here is where we can come and fill our water tanks. This is where we can come and empty our bins. And this is where we can come and empty our toilets. And today I need to empty my toilet and I need to empty my bins as well. So welcome to the back deck of the boat. This is obviously the area where we would cruise the boat from. When we're moored, we have this canopy, which we remove while we're cruising. But while we're stopped and while we're stationary, this ends up being a bit of a storage area. But this is also where our gas locker is, our engine, and the majority of our electrics live. You'll notice at the moment there's a bit of a horrible squealing noise, and that to me sounds like the alternator belt is on its way out and it's slipping. So that's a job for the next couple of weeks where I need to either tighten or replace the alternator belt. So for now, we're out here with the engine running. Sorry about that noise. It is awful, but let's take a look at everything that's out here. So as I lift up the engine bay, it's going to get much louder. Thank goodness for the external microphone. So I decided to turn that engine off while we have a look inside the engine bay, because that alternator belt was really, really squealing, and I've just had a check and it does feel really loose. There's quite a lot of movement in it. Unfortunately, it also looks like it's at the end of its adjustment, so I can't tighten it anymore. I am going to have to replace the alternator belt. In theory, that's a really quick and easy job. However, access in here is really difficult. It's kind of quite far back to get round to the pulley and to get the belt off and to get to the adjustment bolts as well. So it might mean that I have to take the stairs out to get access round the back and get to the bolts in order to take off this belt and put a new one on. I think one big part of living off grid is being willing to get in and get your hands dirty and do those jobs yourself. Now, absolutely, there are people out there that will do the work for you. You can hire a mechanic to come out to the boat. However, they will charge quite a lot of money to come and do it. And often there's a bit of a waiting list because there's not that many boat engineers out there. So I really do feel like you've got a choice, either very deep pockets or willingness to get in and do it yourself. Before I moved onto the boat, I didn't particularly have a clue about engines, and there wasn't a lot that I could fix myself. As time's gone on, I've taught myself, I've practiced, I've learned, I've made some mistakes along the way, and now I'm pretty confident that I can get involved, get stuck in, and work out what's what around the engine, and at least diagnose problems, even if it's things I can't fix myself. It's not the cleanest example in here. It's a pretty messy engine, dirty engine bay here as well, as it looks like I've got a bit of an oil leak somewhere. And that's not a good sign. So I need to work out exactly where that's coming from. Now, I'm sure I've made some mistakes along the way. However, it's getting to the point now where I'm much more confident to get stuck in and try it and not spend absolute thousands on maintenance throughout the year. So the engine is a real big part of our life. Obviously, it controls the propulsion of our boat, and that's very important. However, it does a good few other things as well at the same time. For example, it charges our battery system. We have 400 amp hours of lithium battery, and it's great having such a high capacity of power. However, that needs charge, and the solar panels can do a great deal of that. But like today, when there's no sun, we need a little extra boost, and that is something that the engine does for us. A bit like on a car, you have an alternator to charge the battery. In this case, we have two alternators going to a smart charger to charge those lithium batteries. And that means it takes the power from both alternators and distributes it evenly between both the starter battery and the leisure batteries. And when the starter battery is fully charged, all the amps will then also go into those leisure batteries to keep our home powered.
What's your name?
Right, do you want to interview me then?
What's the worst thing about living on a boat?
My name's Andy, and I live on this 50-foot narrowboat with my 3 children. The worst thing about living on a boat for me at the moment is probably not having my own bed. When the boys moved in with me, we converted the back room into 2 single beds, which used to be a nice big double bed for me. And I moved on to sleeping on the sofa bed. And that means at the moment I don't have my
What's the best thing living on a narrowboat?
I'd really like. I think in the future we're really going to look towards getting a bigger boat, hopefully something that's 70 foot, that will give us a little bit more room for me to have my own bedroom, my own privacy again. The best thing about living on a narrowboat is access to the incredible outdoor.
What do you think about having to cruise the narrowboat?
Unlimited nature and unlimited freedom as well to explore the towpaths and be as feral as possible.
How annoying is it when the electricity goes out?
So one of the really difficult things about living on a boat is the fact that we are fully off-grid. And while for most of the year we rely on solar for our power, very often in the winter when there's less solar, we might lose electricity, and sometimes we'll wake up in the morning and the power's gone. We do have several ways of charging that. We've got our engine, we've got a generator, and we've got the solar. So it's always pretty easy to resolve the issue.
How do you feel that one of your children own their own boat?
So my eldest son, who is turning 15 this week, actually owns his own boat, and he's got a 21-foot river cruiser that we tow along and we moor alongside or behind our boat. And actually, that's something that a question people have raised on some of our previous videos was this idea of Oliver living on his own or living separately from him, and that just isn't the case. The extra boat is Oliver's bedroom, and it's extremely close to us. In fact, I really worked out that previously when they lived in a house, Oliver had a bedroom on the top floor of a 3-story house, and he was so much further away from the people on the bottom floor that I actually think that where he is safer, and I can keep a great eye on him at the same time as giving him his own privacy and his own freedom. And I'm really proud of how well he's taken on the responsibility of his own boat at such a young age.
How good is the internet?
So for the internet, so again, being off-grid makes things a little bit more challenging. And for the internet, we use a 5G router, so it's a bit like a mobile phone connection. The issue with that is it depends on where we are, how good that can be, but we do have an incredible router, and we've got a nice big aerial on top of the roof that keeps it all ticking over. So for the vast majority of the time, we have pretty good internet, and occasionally it goes down, but that just means it's time to get outside a bit more. So I know living off-grid might sound like hard work, and I'm definitely not suggesting that it's for everyone. I think you really do have to be a certain type of person to live this lifestyle. And while it's really easy to romanticize living on a narrowboat, a lifestyle that's perfectly aligned with nature, and
the ultimate freedom as you move up and down the canal network at will. And yes, sometimes it really does feel like that. And more often than not, I take a look at the life that we've built and feel so lucky to have it. But that life takes hard work.
Reach.
And running a boat itself is a full-time commitment. And I'm sure plenty of people think I must be mad for doing this as a single dad. But I've experienced grief myself, and living on a boat is the thing that saved me. And despite the hard work that comes with it, if living this way can help my boys even half as much as it's helped me, I just know that one day they're going to thank me for it. And whatever lifestyle they choose in their future, the lessons learned from being off-grid and the lessons they've learned from living in close quarters, they're going to stay with them forever.